2K crew, what is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? Well, we're up, and we're actually doing this a little bit early because it is a well-known fact that this time of year is known as the Deer Slayer season, and Mr. 2K is taking his daughter out after this. So, as much as I love to sleep in and love my Saturday afternoons, I'm not going to deny a father and his daughter some valuable hunting time. So, yeah, we're sitting here watching the Michigan State game, and I thought the game's, I mean, granted, it's still only the first quarter, but I thought it'd be swaying a little bit more in Michigan's favor. But yeah, we're going to kick off episode 41, and yes, we'll get to the Michigan State talk, but I think we need to kind of address the elephant in the room, if you will. And if you don't know what the fuck we're talking about, Thursday night.
Yeah, did you even have your TV on yet?
Yeah,
yesterday.
Or did you have your internet on?
Yes, I mean, it was everywhere.
Yes. And I was speaking with a couple people, and they were asking me, oh, well, what are your thoughts on the Steelers-Browns game? And this was before kickoff. And I was like, it's going to be dumb. Mm-hmm. And like, well, who do you think is going to win? I was like, using that old South Park analogy, it's like trying to choose between a douchebag and a shit sandwich. And I predicted it extremely well. I said Pittsburgh should win, but the Browns are going to. For some, I just had that feeling. And I watched probably a couple minutes into the third quarter and said, fuck it, I'm going to bed. And boy, did I miss the most egregious, shocking. I'm running out of adjectives because it was something that I've never seen. And judging by a lot of the other sportscasters, they'd never seen it. They've been doing this a whole hell of a lot longer than you and I have. Yeah, so if you're still not up to date with what we're talking about, I think it was a couple minutes to go in the game.
It was last play.
Was it?
Yeah.
So it was very last play. Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett decide to get in a little tuft. Myles Garrett rips the helmet off Mason Rudolph. Of course, his linemen are there trying to help out, and that's a lineman's job. And then it escalated a little further, and Garrett swings the helmet and hits Rudolph in the head. And then you get, I want to say it was Pouncey coming in, pretty much bull rushing him, get him on the ground, then start kicking him and punching him. So that was even adding to the ridiculousness of the situation. And I posted a poll on Twitter asking what everyone thought, because you had to expect some sort of suspension from this. I mean, it's ridiculous to think it was just going to be a fine, and at that point you're like, all right, well, once he gets suspended, how far does it go? So NFL came out I posted the poll on Twitter. Gave you 4 options. What do you think his suspension should be? 2 games, 4 games, the rest of the year, or lifetime ban? And there was a few votes for a lifetime ban. There was no votes for 2 or 4 games, but the most resounding was the rest of the season. And keep in mind, for an on-field incident, the longest suspension was Vontaze Burfict this season. This is going to go above that because he's out indefinitely. We don't know how long. We know it's guaranteed to be the rest of the regular season and postseason this year. Where that goes forward, no one knows yet. And Pouncey got 3 games. And then even after all of this is going on, one of the DBs from Cleveland comes up and pushes Rudolph in the back. He got a game. And his last name starts with an O, and I can't remember how to pronounce it.
To me, I thought he deserved more than 1 game. I thought what he did was kind of cheap. You know, it was. And then he comes out and says he was trying to protect Myles Garrett. Well, Myles Garrett was getting his ass beat by the 3 offensive linemen. So why weren't you going and pushing them instead of pushing the quarterback
without a helmet,
the weakest link on the field, and you go in there and you push him. That was just to me it was a bitch move.
It was, and so now that all the suspensions and everything have come down, what is your opinion on how? Because it's our job as quote unquote the media to try to distinguish what indefinite means. Mm-hmm. So what is your take? How long, if you were Goodell, besides cashing a massive fucking paycheck, what would you do? How long would it be?
I think they got it right by. I mean, he's done for the rest of the year, and I think they got that part of it right now. Whether he misses time next season or not, I think that when it all happened, they needed to act fast. They had to have an answer the next morning, and basically let everybody know that he was done for the remainder of this season. They had to have that answer out fast. Now I think that they've built themselves some time to maybe look into it, see what the hell happened, talk to both sides, and figure things out, and then go from there as far as, you know, how many games he's going to miss next season. I think that I think they got it right. I mean, he's done for the remainder of the year. They probably won't make the playoffs, but if they do, he's done for that. And then start next season with a clean slate. If you drag it out and he has to sit out 3 games, 4 games next season, I don't have a problem with it. My problem is it just might add unneeded drama on this next season, and I really don't care to hear about it at the beginning of next season.
Right. And I'm fine with he's done this year.
Yes.
Regardless,
they had to do that. If he would have played another down this season, I think it would have been a complete joke.
Well, and Goodell's done that. Mm-hmm. If you look, and granted, we're talking complete apples and oranges here. When you look back with what he did with some of the domestic violence stuff, he really shit the bed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you know, we on the outside can say that because we're looking at it through different eyes. When you're in his seat, I mean, you got to take into account not only the players but the owners, the sponsors, where the money comes from, and that can dilute your vision a little bit. Mm-hmm. With this, we don't need to worry about Ray Lewis or anyone kicking anyone in an elevator, any domestic violence, you know, allegations. This was right on the field on a prime time game. This is Thursday night football. Granted, a lot of Thursday night games have been kind of shit in the past, and this one was too. But still,
it's prime time.
It's prime time.
It's the only game that's going on.
You're the only show on.
Yep.
And for it to happen that way, I have no problem with him being done for the rest of the year. For everyone that says he should be done for a lifetime, I think you're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
For one person to have one lapse of judgment like this, if Ron Artest can go into the stands at the Palace and fight and still have a career after that, granted, he was suspended for a long time. Mm-hmm. I can't remember how many games, but I'm pretty sure he was done for the rest of that year and part of the next year.
Yep.
But still had a career after that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, granted, he didn't use a weapon, but then again, you're talking about a professional athlete going into the stands with fans. Mm-hmm. So, yes, both are different, but I think they're very similar. So, yes, but to take the suspension into next season, I think hurts the Browns, because if I'm the Browns ownership and I'm like, all right, fuck this guy. He's not getting paid while he's suspended. And if I want to cut ties during this off season, so be it. But you can't do that until, well, I guess you could, but it just it leaves too many undone. It's not all tied up. Mm-hmm. So letting this go into next season, you're right, I don't want to hear about it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It gives the Browns the option to say thanks, but no thanks. And then he can move on. And so the Browns can, because he's one of the best defenders in football, hands down. Yeah. And so if the organization wants to move past that, then give them the option to. a lot of folks can counter that argument with, well, the Browns are the ones that created the environment that led to this act. I can't argue that. Mm-hmm. If you watched even part of, even the parts of the game that led up to that, you could tell they're a very undisciplined team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just stop it at the end of the season. And if the Browns want to cut ties, fine.
Yeah.
If they want to keep him on and get him some help so this doesn't happen again, so be it.
Yeah.
So be it.
And I think if you're Cleveland, that's what you do. I mean, you have to. Yeah. I don't think you can just cut ties with him because of this. What he did was, I mean, it was an awful mistake. And do I think that he regrets it? Absolutely. I think he regretted it as soon as right after it happened. I mean, if you look at the post-game interviews and everything, you could tell he was pretty shook up. I don't think it had hit reality yet, and it wasn't plastered all over the TV yet like it was, the next morning. But he made a mistake. He's young. You got to think they used the first pick of the draft on this guy. They're not going to just we're done with you. We'll let it, the other 31 teams in the NFL have their pick on you because everybody else in the NFL will take him.
Fuck the Patriots would take him in a heartbeat.
Every team, you would be stupid not to take him.
Could you imagine Myles Garrett on that Patriots defense right now? Fuck around. Tom Brady really wouldn't retire till he's 50. But no, when you're talking suspensions, we already mentioned a little bit with Vontaze Burfict. Mm-hmm. I don't know who called him, but they got a quote from him, and it says they asked him, well, what do you think about the situation? He goes, that's fucked up. And if you stop and think about it, Vontaze Burfict has almost lost he's on his last team, the Raiders. He went from Cincinnati, where that's kind of, in the past, Cincinnati, they take some flyers on some folks with, shady behavior. Mm-hmm. And if you can't work it out in Cincinnati, where do you go? The Raiders. Mm-hmm. Well, he can't hack it with the Raiders. So for him to say it's fucked up, that kind of tells you something. And then they further asked, well, how do you compare this incident to what you did? He's like, it's completely different. Everything I was suspended for was during play, and I didn't swing a fucking helmet at somebody. So when you get the perspective of someone that is habitually line stepping like Vontaze Burfict, excuse me, it gives you good perspective. Mm-hmm. Did the kid mess up? Sure. He's admitted it, and you can tell, at least in my opinion, with the stuff that he's come back out with or has put public, it's from the heart. It's not the PR guy writing it. It's actually him. So, and it's something too that we'll probably never see again. And you're right, when the NFL, I think the NFL did a great job coming out, bam, as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And when they do it as soon as possible, it gives them more time to look into it. Because I want to know what actually, because Rudolph was ripping his helmet off while he was on the ground before he got his off. Yeah. I want to know exactly what happened.
Yeah. And obviously something happened for him to snap to that level, and I've read a lot of things and I've seen a lot of things in social media and people saying, well, Rudolph started it. Yeah, that very well could be, and I don't disagree with that, but I don't give a shit if he said something about his mom. You don't rip a guy's helmet off and then turn it into a weepon and swing it at him the way that you can't do that. It doesn't matter what anybody does to you. You can't do that. No. Now, we've spent all this time talking about Myles Garrett, and then we flip it on to Marquise Pouncey picking up 3 game suspension on that. Mm-hmm. If he would have just went back and threw Garrett onto the ground and even if he would have just got down there and ground and pounded with him
don't kick him.
But you can't be curb stomping him. No. I mean, it looked like
can't take the boots to him.
It looked like the scene from what was the Longest Yard when all the convicts are beating up on
the refs.
It was just like, it just looked like trash. Yeah. And it put a really bad image. I think about kids that are at that game and then are seeing that, and it's just like, you guys are professionals. You guys make more money than you'll ever know what to do with, and you have to be professional. You have to be professionals. And I'm not saying football is a it's a whole different ballgame than most sports. I mean, as far as it's intense and it gets crazy out there, and it's very easy to lose your mind out there. But you can't be swinging helmets and you can't be curb stomping people. And
nope.
It's just it looked like a freaking prison riot out there instead of a football game, and it was just I don't know, it was a joke to me.
And I, with Rudolph's point of view, kid had some balls continuing to go after someone without said helmet after you got hit with it. I would have, and of course he's sitting here flailing his arms. I would have been too. I'd be like, yo, this motherfucker just hit me with my goddamn helmet.
I mean, you look at how that whole thing shook out. I mean, talk about a bad minute he gets thrown to the ground by Myles Garrett. He gets landed on by Myles Garrett. Then he gets his helmet taken off, and he gets beat up by his own helmet by Myles Garrett. Then, after all that, and all this is shaken out, what's his name comes out and from the Browns and pushes him down. Well, then one of the his own offensive linemen sees him get pushed and goes to go after the guy that pushed him, and he hits him in the head with his knee as he's going by him. And it was just like, this poor guy can't take a break.
No, it's like a comedy spoof.
All right. I mean, kudos to him. He took a freaking helmet to the head. I mean, it wasn't like Garrett missed on that.
And if you rewind a few weeks back, he's the one that got his dome rocked, got knocked the fuck out, had to take the face mask off his helmet and take him back into the locker room. Dude had no idea. He was trying to say things taste like the color blue. And so for him to not only get hit with his own fucking helmet, then get kneed in the head, 2 or 3 weeks separated from that incident. Jesus Christ, man. Get the target off your dome. Mm-hmm. So, and, kind of to put a bow on this, they meet again in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about it is, Myles Garrett, he's a great player. And all of this, I hope it doesn't ruin the image of him. I hope it goes. I hope he comes back from this and is better, and I hope he learns from the situation. But be thankful that he didn't hurt Mason Rudolph, right? Because if Mason Rudolph was hurt from this, and he was, end up with a concussion, or he did end up with, if there would have been blood, on the field, people would have been seeing blood out there, you might be looking at a lifetime ban. But because there was no injury,
a lifetime ban and possible jail time.
Yes.
And it came out later last night that Mason Rudolph was not going to pursue any legal things because he wasn't hurt. Mm-hmm. But yes, he could have still, if he really wanted to, could go ahead and sue Myles Garrett and or a criminal because it was assault.
Yep,
that's assault, brother.
Yep,
that's assault. And just to kind of give you an update, Michigan State has scored, and that's going to lead us into this game. Michigan State, Michigan, big brother versus little brother in Ann Arbor. It's 32 degrees out. It's noon. It's sunny. This is fucking football weather. I don't want to sit down on it, but this is football weather. Michigan's kind of had a little bit of issues moving the ball so far. Michigan State went down. They hit a pretty big pass completion, and the receiver was tackled right before the goal line, and then they ran one more play and got it in. So we're sitting at 7-0, and again, I'm really liking these polls on Twitter because I would really like people just to comment on the tweet, which would be awesome, so I could see who's saying what. I can interact with them, but a lot of folks just like to tap and move on. So if you want to tap and move on, that's fine. But I'm going to use your taps to kind of bring it in on the show, where if you comment, I can use your name on the show. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So I posted that, and no one even voted that Michigan was going to win this game, which I was shocked. Because if you ask me, Michigan should roll all over Michigan State. It's a rivalry game. I understand that. I completely understand that. Notre Dame has one today with Navy. Scares the absolute shit out of me. But the way this game is going, Michigan State's hitting hard. Michigan is, like I said, moving the ball, but just stupid fucking penalties. Again, they took the kickoff. Shea got sacked. Ends up being 3rd and 16 after a false start, deep in their own territory, and luckily Shea flushes out to his left, hooks up. I want to say they got 18, 19 yards out of it. So, but they're not moving the ball as easily as they have the last few weeks, and to get the discussion out the gate. And I'm kind of told that because I'm alluding to what I'm going to ask you. Because we thought the same thing with Notre Dame. How is the bye week going to suit them going into Michigan? Which obviously they shit the fucking bed. Now, the reason I ask is the bye week right now good for Michigan? Because they were on a roll. Their offense is looking good. The defense is looking good. Granted, everyone loves the time off, but when you're gaining momentum like that, is it always a good thing to have a bye week right now?
I mean, you definitely don't want to lose that momentum, but I think with what they have coming up on their schedule, that it came at a really good time because you have Michigan State, you have Indiana next week. Indiana's no joke. No. And then you have Ohio State. So you're ending the season off those 3 games. I think it was big that they needed the time off. They had played 5-6 consecutive weeks, and had went through a pretty good gauntlet as far as some of the teams that they played against in that stretch.
And we kind of touched on it last week, where you yourself consider this a bigger rivalry than the Ohio State game.
Well, it's not so one-sided. Yeah. Ohio State, I have a hard time still calling that a rivalry because it's one-sided. Ohio State wins it every year. Exactly.
And we had also touched on, how big of a game this is for both coaches as well. And I would have just loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear both the pep talks in the locker rooms. D'Antoni doesn't seem to be like the big fire-up, rah-rah guy. As far as his demeanor, he looks the way he carries himself and just his conversations. He reminds me a lot of Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly walks. He always looks pissed off.
But Brian Kelly always looks like he's more like straight faced and to where D'Antonio just looks like a fucking asshole all the time.
And constipated.
It drives me fucking nuts. It's like, dude, calm down and be happy for a moment. But no, you can't get it with him. I've at least seen Brian Kelly crack a few smiles.
That's true.
Before.
That's true.
Normally it's Brian Kelly just reaming the fuck out of his quarterback. That seems to be the only guy that just Brian Kelly has no patience at all for a quarterback. He just is owning his ass all the time on the sidelines, no matter who it is.
Well, he did that a lot with Brandon Wimbush, which rightfully so. Don't throw the ball to the other players. I mean, that's pretty much what every conversation went. But I'm trying to figure out where I was going with this. So I posted something on the Facebook group that I was hoping to get a little bit more traction, and it didn't. And I'm kind of disappointed because I figured, I don't know, maybe Michigan fans are just like, this is fucking stupid, or Turbo's stupid, or I don't even want to talk about it. But it was a meme of Mr. D'Antoni like he's on the phone. On the top half says he's calling Harbaugh. On the bottom half, there's 4 rings. It says, "Oh, there was no ring." Now, I did get one. Actually, there's more than what I thought. Corey says, "Not saying national championship on any of them, other than that, they are participation ribbons." And I'm going to stir the pot a little bit, which I was hoping that's what that post would do. Every Michigan fan, oh man, bro, you ain't shit unless you win the Big Ten. That's what those fucking rings are. That's what those rings are. So winning the Big Ten is not a participation trophy. Last I checked, Michigan State played in a more relevant bowl than Michigan has lately. So I'm just curious as why, when you stress so much that, Harbaugh has to win this, has to win that, has to win that. And then D'Antoni has 4 of them. I'm like, oh, participation trophies, bro. Participation trophies.
But they have, it's not, there's no longevity in it to where Michigan's had the longevity until, you can't deny with after the Lloyd Carr era and you go into the Rich Rod and you go through the Brady Oak time, that as a program, I mean, it went downhill. Yeah. I mean, it was a dumpster fire when Harbaugh took over that.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh was supposed to be, he had won at Stanford. He had won in with the Niners, in the NFL. And he's a Michigan graduate. He won when he was a player at Michigan. So, everybody, he has more pressure on him than any coach in any sport in all of America. I mean, there is more pressure on his job than anywhere else. He's got to win now.
I can't argue that, and I think some of it he kind of brings on himself.
And you look at like Michigan State. They're such a fucking joke. I can't even believe I'm going to get going on this. But
got him going, guys and gals. Got him going.
Yeah, did they have their time? Absolutely, they had their time when Michigan was down, and at the same time as all that was going through, you had Tressel out the door in Ohio State. So Ohio State was down compared to what they normally are, and this is before James Franklin is coming to Penn State. So this is when Penn State has everything going on with Paterno, so they're down. So everything was down around the Big Ten, and that was when Michigan State boosted. Listen, for anybody out there listening, Michigan State is still the little brother, and that's why today they'll play their best game of the day, of the season today against Michigan. I'm not saying that they're going to beat Michigan today. I'm not saying that they're going to lose to Michigan. I don't think Michigan's very good either, but they'll play their best game because this is their season. They can lose every game on their schedule, but if they beat Michigan, it's a good season to them. And isn't that just a little brother mentality? I was the youngest in my family, and if I could beat my brothers in one thing, that would make my day. So that's why you guys are called the little brother. You guys, and all this time that they have had, for that 4 or 5 year stretch, they did have Michigan's number in football. Were they still? Why was Michigan still winning in the recruiting battles?
Well,
it's a dream for big time recruits to go play at Michigan. It's not a dream to go play at Michigan State. That's a backup plan.
Now I will say this, and kind of to answer your question about the recruiting. D'Antoni, you very rarely see a 5-star, 4-star go to Michigan State, and when they do, I mean, you even look at Le'Veon Bell. I'm pretty sure he was a 4-star, maybe a 3. And if you look at, that they've had, Cousins is doing really well. Le'Veon Bell is doing really well. How many of the defense are in the NFL? A lot. But one thing that we hit on last week was that defense hasn't been the same since Narduzzi left. So was it D'Antoni that's making the defense? Was it Narduzzi? I'm going to say Narduzzi.
I lean more on that also. Yeah. I mean, since he's left there, that's Michigan State's kind of went back to reality. And I mean, that's where there's, I mean, and the best thing about it is because Michigan has underachieved this season, and they have. I mean, they were embarrassed by Wisconsin. They played a better game against Penn State, but they still lost that game, and I think they should have. They're the better football team than Penn State, but they lost it. But the best part about it is I haven't really heard a whole lot of slack coming from fans on social media, because most of them are Michigan State that normally are running their mouths all the time. Well, they suck. I mean, you can't
point proven last week.
Yes, exactly.
Point proven, and we're in between the first and second quarter of this game, so we will keep you updated while we are recording. But, you know what? Let's keep it in. Let's keep the talk in the Michigan family. College hoops has started. College hoops has started, and I think the trend so far this year is no one wants to be number one. Michigan State started out number one. I mean, granted, they played the number 2, Kentucky. Kentucky moves up to number 1. They get shit on. And so we're going to go into next week with a whole new, probably Duke, number 1. So one of the big things that you and I talked about at the end of last year was, and this is something we're going to keep an eye on, and we're going to keep you updated, because I myself, I'm actually really interested in this, and that's how Juwan Howard's going to do. Mm-hmm. I saw a tweet the other day that's saying that Juwan Howard's complete fucking garbage. He can't do anything right, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, well, let's see exactly what's going on down there. Michigan's 3-0. But don't get too excited, because the teams they played, I don't think are that good.
No.
Appalachian State.
One of them being Creighton, though. Creighton's always, they're a team they're decent.
Yeah. And then Elon. Did Elon Musk start a university?
Yeah,
couldn't tell you where it's at. But App State, they won 79-71. Creighton 79-69. Elon 70-50. And I don't think we're actually going to get a big time test. They got Louisville on December 3rd. And then you got to wait till after the first of the year once the Big Ten schedule opens up. So you're looking at November, December, 8 weeks to kind of get your team ready for Big Ten play. The Big Ten looks just as good as they have in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't think... Oh. Keep your helmets on. And that's the first scuffle in Michigan State game, which you're probably going to see a lot of, because that's just what they do. And yes, everyone kept their helmet on. So for those of you that just calm the fuck down with the Juwan Howard sucks talk, and that's me as a Notre Dame fan saying this. I just like the fact that it's an outside the box kind of hire. Mm-hmm. Give the dude some time.
Yeah.
Give the dude some time. He's had barely one recruiting class. Mm-hmm. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah. I mean, and he hasn't had any recruiting class because the guys that had already signed were, Beeline's recruits, so they weren't his guys. And then you look at what they lost.
A lot.
You lose 3 players out from your starting 5. One of them being a graduate senior, and then the other 2 leaving early, in Jordan Poole and Iggy. Mm-hmm. So you have 2 returning starters. You have your maybe 7th man from last season is your number 3 guy now this year.
The 3 guys that left were probably 85% of the offense.
Yes,
easily.
So they've lost a lot, and you have a lot of young players. Now the one good thing that they do have going for them is they're still very young. I mean, you look at their leaders in Xavier Simpson and John Teskey, those being their 2 seniors. Those are their 2 best players. But after that, there are a lot of sophomores. I mean, there's 5 or 6 sophomores that play significant minutes, and even got in and played significant minutes last season. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be fine. Do I think that they're going to be able to make a run and win the Big Ten over for instance, Michigan State? I don't have any respect for Michigan State on the football field. I do have respect for Michigan State on the basketball court.
You kind of have to.
They're proven.
Yeah.
So
Maryland's ranked 7 right now.
Yes.
So Ohio State's in the top 15, I believe. Yep. So it's not like the Big Ten has taken a year off.
No, and I'm not saying that Michigan is going to make a run and Juwan's first season and at winning the Big Ten, but they'll be able to compete with those teams. They're not going to get blown away by those teams. They'll be able to play with them.
Are you penciling them in for the tournament?
Yeah, because okay. I mean, to me, the Big Ten is I think they'll be at the end of the season probably the best conference in basketball. They normally are either number 1 or number 2. Yep. And so if you're coming out of the best conference and you finish in, you got to think they're going to get at least 6 teams in, and I see Michigan being in the top 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And,
the top half of the Big Ten.
Yeah. Will they be that high seed like they've been for the last couple of years? No, they might be
11 or 12 seeds somewhere
back a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. And I can't argue any of that. I can't argue any of that. And so just calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. Now when we have this conversation in January, and they're losing Big Ten games by 20 points, then we can have a discussion. And now, granted, it's got to be more than one. But, yeah, right now...
and it's going to be a different style. Like, you look at John Beilein, and the first thing that jumps out to me is... And the first thing that jumps out to me in college basketball with a lot of coaches is, I always say, are they really that great of coaches, or are they just great recruiters? You know, for instance, I throw Calipari out there. Do I really think that he's a great basketball mind coach? No. I think he's a great recruiter. When you
Coach K is both.
When you're he's one, but I still kind of question him a little bit too, because when it's year in, year out, you have 3 or 4 kids coming in that are top 20 high school basketball players coming into college. How do you lose? How do you lose with those teams? I mean,
that's why I was pumped up when Memphis had this class.
Yes, to where, with Beilein, he tried to stay away from the one and doners. He wanted to get the kids that he could develop, and that's why I kind of think that he was elite as far as coaching and developing players. He wasn't the recruiter that some of these other guys are, but he was able to build them. And then towards the tail end of his, time at Michigan, I think what he was upset about was he was recruiting kids that were not supposed to be one and doners. Well, they were leaving after 1 year, 2 years, and I think that was starting to bother him. And probably once these kids all made up their mind that they were leaving last year, I think that was when he was like, "Man, I'm done with this. I'm going to the NBA where I can actually build a roster and not have to worry about them being gone after year 1 or year 2."
And you can say the same thing with Izzo.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's had a handful of kids leave early, and he'll take Cassius Winston. He's a senior. You don't see many seniors in top programs. I mean, granted, there's always, like in the lower half of the Big Ten, for instance, you'll see a lot of juniors, seniors, and even when it comes tournament time, you get a couple of those squirrely teams in there that are, veteran laden with junior. They have like one sophomore in their starting 5, and they have this tournament repertoire built up. So those teams can be scary in the dance, but you don't see that at Duke. And if there is a senior, he's not in the starting 5. Maybe he's a 7th or 8th man. Kentucky, I don't think even keeps players on their squad past their sophomore year. But so yeah, it's a different style, and I think that Juwan's going to be a breath of fresh air. Not to say that Beilein was bad for the program or anything like that. No, he was great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he put Michigan on the map as far as basketball goes, because they never were really a basketball school. I mean, with the exception of the 1 year, or going back to the
Fab
Five. But to me, what Howard's going to be is, I don't know if he'll ever. He's got to prove it to me. Can he be the type of coach that can develop players like Beilein, can? But he'll recruit. He's going to be. It's going to be just like Penny Hardaway. You get, Penny Hardaway goes to Memphis. It's not like people were trying to go. Everybody's going to Memphis, but because you put a name like Penny Hardaway.
Not since Cal left there.
Yes, and you put a name like Penny Hardaway there recruiting that, and all of a sudden these kids are going. They're getting top classes. Juwan Howard's going to do that at Michigan. He go back to this is the first thing you think about when you think of Michigan basketball is the Fab Five. Well, their coaches just happens to be one of the guys that was in the middle of that whole thing. So he's going to recruit.
I think he was the coordinator.
He was the one that started.
That started. So he was a recruiter his junior year in high school.
Yes. So no, they are going to be fine. I'm kind of excited to see it, because I think that they are going to be there. I'm not saying it's going to be year 1, year 2, but I think they are going to start recruiting some of these kids that are top players in the nation, top 10 in the nation.
I think you'll see a lot of the top Michigan recruits going there, because how cool would it be if you're like the top 1 or 2 seniors in Michigan to go to the University of Michigan, be coached by one of the Fab Five, to perhaps start your own Fab Five, maybe.
And I'll be interested, I guess, to see how that shakes out between him and Izzo, because Izzo, as far as this is his pipeline, around here, and deservingly so. I mean, for years and years, he's been nothing but successful at Michigan State. So he's the one that wins a lot of those recruiting battles.
Mm-hmm.
Can Juwan sneak some of these guys away from him? I think he can.
And another side of it too is if you look at the demeanor of Howard when he was on the court, college, pros, he brought it. They were kind of, had that bad boy-esque, chip on the shoulder. Does he bring, is that part of what he's bringing? Is that attitude, that swagger? Because the Fab Five was all about, like, defying people. Hence the black shoes and socks and the long trunk, or the long shorts. And they were going against the norms. And I think, Howard was obviously very integral in that. And what type of thing like that is that something he's going, like an attitude that he's bringing? I don't know why he wouldn't, which is kind of a whole different attitude than what Coach Izzo brings. Not saying either one's bad, not saying one's better than the other, but they're different. And I think that's going to be where each one of the coaches are going to have to figure out which players are going to fit best in their system. And that's where you're going to see, recruit A go from here to here and then B from here to here. And because if you're talking legacy, you got to go Michigan State. If you're talking, if Juwan does bring that fire, that, the chip on the shoulder type, blue collar work ethic type shit, and that's what you're into, I think you'll lean that way. So yeah, just Michigan fans, can we I'm putting myself in there as we, because I'm excited to see this. Can we just take a step back, calm the fuck down? They've had 3 goddamn games.
Yeah, and
3.
They're 3-0.
Yeah.
I mean, so
how can they look like shit and they beat a team by 20?
Yeah.
Calm down. But you know what? Telling a Michigan fan to calm down is like telling your wife to calm down. Nothing ever good is going to come out of it. So
it's because everybody's fucking out to get us all the time.
All right, so let's. You know what? It's getting about that time. Let's play some Paycheck and Onions. What do you say?
Sounds good.
What do you say, Mr. 2Ks? Turbo and 2Ks. Paycheck and Onions. Pop, pop, pop. What is your... What's your first pick'em game?
First pick'em game, going with a Big Ten battle, picking Ohio State over Penn State.
I can't argue that one. Where are you points-wise, by the way? I forgot to ask.
Well, I was at 42, and then I'm the first one of the season to lose my paycheck game, so I lost 3 points on that, and then that puts me at 39. Last week I picked the Saints to beat the Falcons. Falcons won that, making me give you my paycheck.
Well, you gave me your paycheck, but you beat me in fantasy because of it. So, in essence, you might be getting some of your paycheck back. So I wouldn't be too pissed off about that. And speaking of fantasy, Franklin, redemption game this week. It's on. I think
how funny would it be if he has 2 wins?
It would not be funny at all. It wouldn't be funny at all. I think I'd quit. My first pick'em, I'm going to the NFL, Packers at Niners. And I'm riding Jimmy G on this one. I'm going Niners. Probably for the sheer fact that it's at home. And like you just kind of pointed out the point that it's hard to pick NFL games. It really is. Who would have thought that Miami would have won any games? Mm-hmm. We get Fitzmagic in there. You never know what's going to fuck the head. Is he chewing gum? Is he chewing his beard? What the hell's going on here? All he does is throw touchdowns and run around looking goofy. But I'm sitting at 40 points, so I've got a 1 point commanding lead, as usual. My second pick'em is I'm going Big Ten, Michigan at Indiana. I'm going Indiana. Going Indiana. I picked these last night, so the game right now has no. The way it's going has no indication of why I picked this. I like Indiana's quarterback. I like the fact they're at home. Michigan will be favored in this. I have a very good feeling. And Indiana is either tied with Penn State 14-14 or it's 14-10. So they're hanging right there with Penn State. So, and like I said, I picked these before the game started. So yeah, I'm. You could say that's an Onions game, but I got one better than that. So, what is your second pick?
Second pick, I'm going Iowa. Sticking with the Big Ten, I'm picking Iowa over Illinois. I picked Iowa this week. We have actually, obviously haven't seen the outcome of that game yet, but they lost a lot of close games in a row, and I just think that, especially going to Iowa, it's hard to win there. I think that they'll be all right with Illinois. Illinois is very, very improved this season, though. So
absolutely,
I have to tip my cap to them. Just don't think that they're going to be able to go into Iowa and beat them.
We've stated this whole season. Iowa seems to be the upset capital of college football. So not to say that would be an upset by any means, but it's very hard to play there. And what is your last pick'em, Mr. 2Ks?
Last pick'em, I'm going with the NFL. I'm going to. I believe that this would have to be the game of the week with Packers and Niners, and I'm picking the Packers.
You going the other way?
Niners defense, probably the best defense in the NFL. But going back to last week's game with them and Seattle, Jimmy Garoppolo just did not look very good. And kind of looked like he might be what holds the Niners back from being able to make a run in the playoffs and maybe potentially win a Super Bowl. And it seemed to me that they have everything but maybe that quarterback that can get them there. Could be wrong, but the Packers, on the other hand, they have Aaron Rodgers.
It's true. And a defense.
Yes.
And a defense. Which shockingly comes after they let Clay Matthews go, which is still weird to me, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Getting back to talking about the Packers real quick, and everybody talks about Aaron Rodgers and how Aaron Rodgers should be considered for the MVP this year. Might want to start thinking about Aaron Jones. Because he could legitimately make a run at being, and it's going to be very hard, obviously, for a running back to win the MVP over a quarterback. But
unless you pull some like LaDainian Tomlinson shit or Adrian Peterson.
But he leads the league in touchdowns right now, and he has been. I mean,
he's been awesome, except the week that I bought him on DraftKings. Then he was awful.
Well, don't buy him again because I own him in a lot of leagues.
So I'm buying him every week. Should have bought him last week when we played. I'm going back to college. A very kind of under the radar, sneaky game. SMU at Navy. I want to say they're both 7-2, something like that. They're both 2-loss teams. Don't know what the spread is. Going SMU. They've had one. It's been their best season since the Pony Express in the 80s, and I like them. I'm gonna ride them, and it's hard to pick the Penn State 17-14 right now over Indiana. Now it's always hard to pick either for or against Navy because of the offense they run. So, but I think SMU has the horses to kind of to take down Navy and that triple option. All right. So we did all three of yours, 2Ks?
Yep.
All right. What's your paycheck game?
Paycheck game still sticking with the Big Ten. Obviously, you can tell where my heart is when it comes to college football. I'm putting my paycheck on Wisconsin over Purdue.
Purdue's looked awful this year. Wisconsin's looked very good.
And really bad at times also.
Yeah. I'm going I'm going SEC, Arkansas at LSU. I'm pretty sure you can pick which one I'm picking. I'm riding LSU. I don't think LSU is losing until they get to, if they get, the only time they have a chance to lose is in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
So my Onions pick is a pick that you already went one way. Illinois at Iowa. I'm taking Illinois and Lovey's Beard.
All right.
By 3. I'm even putting a number on it. By 3 over Iowa. Yes, Iowa, kings of the close games.
Last second field goal or
a missed field goal by Iowa to tie.
Okay.
To tie. My prognostication is on, that's a big word, is on point right now. Right now. You heard it here first. What is your Onions pick?
My Onions pick, so if you go back to before the NFL season even started, and I picked my potential Super Bowl, which is probably not going to happen. But if you were listening then, I picked Cowboys to be in the Super Bowl with the Patriots, and the Patriots to win it. And Cowboys probably aren't going to be there, but the Cowboys are going to beat the Patriots next week. I'm picking the Cowboys over the Patriots.
I love it. I love it when people pick against TB12. And your Cowboys are making the playoffs. Well, there's no way that they're going to lose that division. The Giants are awful. The Redskins are awful.
And the Eagles just have a tendency mediocre. They haven't played very good football to this point, but if they haven't been healthy, and if they get healthy, to me they're scary. The Cowboys, you just don't know what team's going to show up. Like,
it's true.
I mean, they lost to the Jets. Who's to say they're not going to go into Detroit tomorrow and lose to a backup quarterback? And I can't see it happening because no matter what, Lions will find some way to fuck it up. Or wait, the officials will find some way to fuck it up. But
officials, yeah. But no, you're speaking of the Giants. Danny Dimes. Mr. Dimes himself has applied to have that copywritten, so kudos to you, brother. Kudos to you. Let's do some house cleaning here real quick, Mr. 2Ks. The baseball season is officially over. It has been. But as far as a baseball fan goes, you always wait until after the awards are given out, and then that kind of wraps a nice bow around it. When we did our way too early predictions, we didn't choose a Cy Young. We didn't choose a lot of things, Coach of the Year. But the one thing that we did choose was MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And my National League MVP was Bellinger. American League was Altuve. Your National League was Bryce. And American League was Trout. So we each got one right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think the writers got it right? Because I don't see there's Alex Bregman is probably the only one that you could even put in the conversation with AL MVP.
Yeah, to me, it hands down Trout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this is the thing with Trout. Everybody just needs to get used to it. As long as he's healthy, you might as well at least throw him in the top 2 or 3 every single year. Yeah. I mean, he's never going to fall out of that.
There was ESPN posted a picture of Trout and Pujols. It says there's 6 MVPs in this picture. Each one of them has 3. And in actuality, Trout should have 4. Because the only reason why he didn't win it one year, he came in second the year Miggy won it.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason Miggy won it because he was the Triple Crown winner.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only reason. He should have 4 now, and yeah, you're right. It's becoming the Michael Jordan effect, the LeBron effect, where I think a lot, and that's the reason I went outside the box, is it gets kind of tiring about talking about how good he actually is. But on the other hand, too, we should look at how fortunate we are to be able to watch what he's doing. And now there's you flip it to the National League, you could have more of a discussion. If Yelich doesn't get hurt, does he win it? Because Bellinger kind of slowed down towards the end, which he was on a torrid pace, and just had to slow down. And then you had the emergence of Pete Alonso, which I'm almost positive Yelich was second. In my opinion, I think the only reason that Alonso didn't get more votes is because they didn't make playoffs.
Yeah,
they didn't make the playoffs. So the only way that Trout isn't in the like 1 or 2 every year is A, durability, or B, some of these crazy ass, talented ass kids that keep coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is out trouting Mike Trout.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Because, in that same picture of him and Pujols, you have probably 2 of the best 10 years, which Trout isn't 10 years yet. But if you project out, probably the best 10 years to start your career of any hitter in the history of baseball. So, yeah, but the National League, wow, you talk about young, because most people don't know that Yelich is still really young. Obviously, Bellinger is. You got Alonso, who's a rookie. Set the rookie home run record and led MLB in home runs. And you look at Ozuna. We could go on and on and on. Tatis Jr. There's so many, and there's probably 18 kids that we don't even fucking know about that are just as good, if not better. Yeah. And that's the one thing that excites the shit out of me. And you could say the same thing against the American League. It's just that I think right now the younger studs are in the National League.
I agree.
But who the fuck knows? Because there's probably 18, 19 kids that you and I have never even heard of, which is what makes this game awesome.
Yep.
It makes this game awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to tie a bow on that. Yes, you'll probably get at least 3 or 4 weeks without us talking about baseball. But one really cool thing that happened is I applied to tune in to have them carry our show. And for all of you that don't know who Tune In is, do you have an Alexa? Do you have, Alexa, play music or play whatever? The Tune In is the app, the default app that Alexa uses to search for podcasts. So I applied yesterday and got an email back this morning that our show has been accepted. It said give it 3 or 4 days to get all of our info and everything, but the way it should work out is if you go, hey Alexa, play the Turbo and 2K show, bing, there it goes, which I think is kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. So yeah, we're trying to be as upbeat and legit as possible. So this just furthers the fact that if you can't listen to us, it's your own fucking fault. We're giving you every option, and we've got videos, we've got just straight audio. So if you can't get on the Turbo and 2K's train, it's your own fucking fault. It's your own fucking fault. You know what? You should come join us because we have a lot of fun. The amount of activity going on in the group right now is amazing. And because it used to be I was the only one posting on there for the longest time, but we've got a lot of folks on there. And one thing we're going to start doing in December, which I figured out how to do, is I can see the activity level of every one of the members. So we're going to give shout outs to the top posters of the month. So post on that shit, reply to it, post some cool shit because I like to look at it. And I did post a lot of Myles Garrett memes yesterday, but I only posted about a quarter of them that I saw. I just picked and choose the funniest ones. So with all that being said, guys and gals, we are at that 1 hour mark. Is there anything else you want to add, Mr. 2Ks?
No.
All righty. Well, you and your daughter, best of luck.
Thank you.
Make sure you wear your 2K Crew shirt.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I haven't worn it since I shot mine.
There you go.
So it's on.
That's what I'm here for. And yeah, keep liking, keep subscribing. Do all that cool shit on YouTube up there. Comment. I want to get your guys' thoughts on what we're doing, anything you want us to cover. Yeah, we want to be as interactive as possible. So we're not dickheads. You can actually talk to us, I promise. Well, 2K's is kind of a dick, but...
It's only if you start spouting off Michigan State bullshit.
All right, 2K crew, we will get you out on that. And Jim Rome, as always, we're coming for you.